Hi everyone, and welcome to Day 2 of the Summer Arts Intensive. My name is Professor Chris Malone, and I teach comics and animation for the KSU School of Art and Design. So, in addition to teaching, I've also worked for a variety of awesome cartoon shows throughout the years. Shows like Adam Ruins Everything, Cyanide and Happiness, and also the Emmy Award-winning show Archer, made right here in Atlanta. So, speaking about Atlanta, the technique that I would like to introduce you to today in the workshop is called character rigging, and it's an extremely popular animation technique used by a lot of studios and freelancers right here in Atlanta. So what exactly is character rigging? Character rigging is a style of animation that is used by a lot of animation studios today to save on production time as well as production cost. A hand-drawn episode of The Simpsons takes about 6 months to make, while an episode of South Park that uses similar techniques to what I'm going to be showing you today, it only takes 5 days for them to come up with a single episode. So character rigging is where you build a lot of different assets for your character, and you're able to layer them on top of each other and manipulate them in ways where you don't have to redraw everything for every single frame. Now, one of the best ways to think of it is this way, where like if you have your hand right in front of you like this, like you can rotate your hand on its wrist, and the elbow is not going to be moving at all. It's not going to be lifting up or down. But if I move my elbow up or down, notice how my wrist followed it too. So it uses a similar principle where you have a lot of assets connected to a character in an animation program such as Toon Boom, Adobe Animate, After Effects, or even Clip Studio EX and Clip Studio Pro. You may have already made something similar to this when you were a kid, where you may have made a puppet, just like a little puppet character that had a body, and you would connect the arms and the legs to it just by using a thumbtack or something. Where all the joints would be rotating at areas like the shoulders and the elbows. And so that way you could just have a puppet be in whatever pose you needed to be. Another way to look at it is that you may have seen some work done on a 3D video game where the video game character is in something called a T-pose, where after making that pose, you can then take that character and manipulate them and put them in whatever pose the video game requires of them. Alright, so the agenda for today is that we're going to start off by taking a look at what are the fundamentals of character rigging. We're then going to open up Adobe Animate, and we're going to build, rig, and then animate a simple character in the program. We're going to be using Adobe Animate instead of other programs such as Toon Boom, because Adobe Animate is a program that is very widely available. It's a little cheaper than Toon Boom. And then also, if you happen to have Photoshop or Illustrator, Animate comes as part of the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite. So there's a good chance that you may already have that program available to you. Also, a lot of the techniques that I'm going to be introducing you to today are not going to be limited to just Adobe Animate. These are going to be skills that you can use with other programs, definitely Toon Boom. I use it a lot in a program called After Effects, one of my personal favorite animation programs. And yeah, that's the agenda for today. So let's go ahead and get started with Adobe Animate, which, by the way, it used to be called Adobe Flash a couple years ago. They've done some rebranding since, and is now called Adobe Animate. So if I accidentally use the phrase Flash instead of Animate, this way you know what I'm talking about. So, to get us started, I have a character named Redbeard the Pirate that I'm going to use to show you guys what the basics of character rigging is all about. Alright guys, so I have made a Alright guys, so I have a handy dandy little guide on making character rigs using Redbeard Jake. So this is a character that I built in Photoshop, but the technique is something that you can use in any program that does animation. So essentially what a character rig is going to look like is like this. This is what Captain Jake will look like, you know, when I'm going to be animating him and moving him around and such. However, this is what he looks like if you were to individualize every single one of the layers. I'd like to show you a preview of what this is going to look like once we're all finished. So I have his far armed right here, and this is actually going to look more like your paper puppets that you may have made when you were a kid. I'm going to grab his entire arm and move this rotation point right here, kind of overlapping both his shoulder and also part of his torso. That rotation point is going to allow me to be able to move his arm up and down as such, so that way he could be singing a sea shanty and, you know, swishing his drink around. Now here you can see what all the parts are going to look like, just kind of color-coded and overlapped on top of each other. Now, grouping can really help with this. Your character may have more or less groups than what I have right here, but I broke it down between probably the 6 groups you're going to be working with the head, the torso, the arm near, arm far, leg near, and leg farm. Not leg farm, leg far. Now, you may have to have an extra thing or two if you wanted to maybe have like a flowing sash right here, or maybe if you wanted to give him a ponytail or even long hair. Now, the key to this, though, is going to be overlap. Because as you can see here, you can see a huge neck peg sticking right into his head. And we're not going to see a lot of that, but there's a reason why it's there. And then also with this far arm, we're able to see a lot of it that, you know, we're not really going to see for most of the animation. And the same goes for the far leg right here too. You may also be asking yourself too, why am I calling it the arm far and arm near? So this is the arm far and arm near. Instead of just, you know, like the right arm or left arm. And the reason for that is the way that this layer system is set up, arm near is going to always be closest to us. So if we were to flip this character, for instance, and have him look from this direction over here, if we just flip the whole canvas around, all of my naming conventions for layers will still make sense. So if we flip him around, his near arm is going to continue to be his near arm. But if we called it the right arm or left arm instead, that's going to get reversed in a way that's going to be confusing for you and the rest of your animation team. Overlap is key, and I can't stress this enough. So don't stop drawing when you reach another body part. Draw past it and complete that shape. This is the secret that makes this technique work. So see how every part of the torso overlaps? Make sure that when you're sketching out your own character for this, use this as well. Now let's see what happens if we don't do any overlap. So we have the same Captain Redbeard here. So let's say I wanted to have him swish that arm around, but I didn't draw overlap. Oh, snap. That's not supposed to be there. So we're just going to get a big gap right there. That's not going to look right. So going back to this, one of the best ways to think of this is take a nearby Lego figurine if you have one, or a toy, or a Barbie doll, or an action figure, or whatever you may have around, and check out the head on the toy. If you were to pop the head off of the body, you're going to notice that there is still a peg underneath for the head. The same is going to be true for all of the cartoon characters that we're going to be building for character rigging. So next up, the limb layers are also going to be overlapping. Now, these limb layers are going to be consisting of the upper limb, so that could be your upper limb, or your upper arm, and as well as, like, you know, your thigh, your lower limb, as well as your shin, and then your hand, foot, or paw, whatever you're going to be working with. Now, there is no set layer for the limb parts due to each character having different sleeves / pants. There are going to be some character designs that are going to have the forearm, for instance, on a layer over over the upper arm. However, there's going to be some situations where the upper part of the arm is going to have to be on a layer over over your lower part of the arm. This is going to be something that you're going to have to just simply play around with and see what's going to best fit your own model. Now finally, to get the best rotation for your characters too, I recommend that you have a circle at the end of each one of your limbs. So in order to get the best rotation, the joints need to be cleanly made as possible. If you're having any trouble, just simply making a little circle guide like this, and then overlapping the upper arm and lower arm right on top of each other like this, you get a curve that is able to be rotated in practically 360 degrees. So let's say I take my forearm here, I think that's forearm 2 right here. Yeah. So if I were to take the forearm here and the hand, move my rotation point right here in the middle of that circle, you're going to be able to see that you get a lot of motion from the hand. Now you're not going to be able to bend it backwards like that because, you know, human arms don't go that way. However, you can make it work and it's still going to look clean somehow because of that circle guide that we created. Alright guys, I hope that you have a better understanding of what a character rig is and essentially what we're going to be building very soon in Adobe Animate. Now, before we build something, we're going to have to make a sketch of it. So I want you guys at home to go ahead and take a sheet of paper, your drawing tablet, or whatever you like to draw on, and make a sketch of a character that you would like to turn into a character rig in a 3/4 angle. Now, you may be asking yourself, what is a 3/4 angle? Right now, you are seeing me in a full or a centered angle. A profile angle is where you're going to be seeing me entirely from the side. A 3/4 angle is where it's pretty much in between the full and is going to be in between the profile right here, where you're able to still see both eyes, a lot of the front information of me, but also a lot of the side as well. So that is going to be a 3/4 angle. So the sketch that I made that I'm going to be using for the next part of the workshop is this right here. This is actually based off of my dog Esper. Actually, this is my dog Esper here. I just decided to have her stand up for this. I think she'd be a fun character to draw. Now, also keep in mind, keep the character very simple for your first go. Even though I have, even though in the Captain Redbeard example that I gave you guys earlier, I have a like a torso, the abs, the hip, the pelvis, and everything like that. That's going to give me a lot of range of motion. However, for the first animation that you guys are going to be working on with this, I just need you to keep it simple. Looking back here at Esper, all she has right here is that she just has her dress. That alone is going to be the torso part. So instead of going with all 4 parts, her dress is going to be the entire torso. It's going to be really simple to work with. So go ahead and pause this if you need to, and take as much time as you need to sketch out your character. If you can't think of one, just draw yourself, a family member, or even a friend. Alright, I'll catch you guys in a minute. Oh hey, welcome back! So, I hope that your character is one that you're extremely happy with. So if you drew your sketch like I did on a sheet of paper and need to get into your computer, if you can use a scanner to be able to do that, or you can just go with what I did. I just took a picture of it with my cell phone and I just emailed it to myself. So the sketch does not need to be too high quality because it's not even going to be shown in the final version of what we're working with here. So go ahead, get that scanned and sent over to your computer, and I'll see you guys in a few minutes over in Adobe Animate. Alright, so the first thing we're going to want to do is to open up Adobe Animate. Once we're in the program, just go to File, New, hit OK, and we now have a canvas to be able to work with. Now that we have that, we can go to File, Import, Import to Stage. I'm going to find my sketch that I did of Esper here and place it in here. And as we can see, it is it is large. So one of the things we could do to change it is we can use the free transform tool. The Q key is the hotkey for it, and we can scale it down. Now, one of the things that you may notice about scaling in any Adobe program is that if you don't hold the Shift key, you can squash and stretch, and it will not keep its proportions for whatever you do to change it around. But if you hold the Shift key, you can do that, and it will maintain those proportions for whatever size you'd like to scale it to. I believe that the new versions of the Adobe Suite come with that flipped, where it will be the Shift key is used to pretty much do this, and not holding the Shift key will be able to do this. So, long story short, if you're trying to be able to maintain your proportions or not, use the Shift key. So we have Esper here, and I'm going to go ahead and double click in my layers window where it says layer 1. I'm just going to write down sketch and hit the lock key because I do not want to draw on this layer by mistake. If you work with any digital program, it will happen to you at some point. So here, I hit the new layer icon in the bottom left corner, and I'm going to go ahead and start drawing. I'm going to zoom in, which by the way, I hit Z on the keyboard to get to this magnifying glass. I can just zoom in like this, and I would hold the Alt key to zoom out. You can also hit the Control or Command if you're using a Mac or PC, and hit Control plus to zoom in, or Control minus to zoom out. Alright, so I have the head right here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn this whole head into a single layer. Now, if I were to make this more detailed, I would want the mouth and the eyes to be on their own layers as well as the snout, because I would like to be able to have some animation options with it, where I could have the eyes blink, I could have a few mouth motions if I wanted to, but for the sake of this demonstration, I'm just going to keep it like here. Oh, and also, anytime you notice the hand icon popping up, I'm holding down the Shift key, and that will allow me to grab the screen and just kind of move it around at my convenience. So I'm going to use the brush tool to do most of my work right here. Now, I also am using a Wacom Cintiq, which means that it is pressure sensitive, so I can make some thin lines or some large lines, depending on how hard I'm pressing down with the pen. Now, right here, you're going to see that we get some really weird little bottlenecks with this line quality, where it could be thick in some parts, thin in others. One of the best ways to handle that is just to drop down the smoothing quite a bit. That's looking much better already. You can just go ahead and drop it down to 0 if you want, and boom, that works. So I'm hitting Control-Z to undo those. Let's go ahead and get started with drawing Esper. I'm going to go ahead and draw her nose right here. So you may be asking yourself, is this an Animal Crossing version of my dog? And yes, it is. I have one for my other dog, Marlin, as well, that I may use during the inking demonstration that I'll be doing on Friday. Make sure to check that out. So I'm zooming through this a little fast, and I would probably be spending more time on my lines if I had a bigger animation plan for this. But so far, I'm pretty happy with the line quality I'm getting right here. Now, one of the other things you're going to want to do too is, for consistency's sake, you don't want to zoom in too much or too little. I'll show you why in just a minute here. So I'm zoomed out, or I'm zoomed in right now, and you can see that this is my line weight right here. I'm at 400%. Let's bring that down to 100%. Whoa, check out that line quality right here, or the line width. So, depending on how far you are zoomed in versus zoomed out, your line weight is going to change. So you want to stay, I'm grabbing everything here by just hitting V on the keyboard, selecting it all, and hitting delete. So what I was trying to say here is make sure you're always going to be at the same zoom level, so that way your line quality is not going to be changing around at you. So I'm going to hit B on the keyboard to get back to my brush. And just work on some of the ears. And I'm not too thrilled with those lines, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Now, in case you were wondering about Esper and what type of dog she is half Corgi, half Blue Heeler. And it's really funny because she looks like a Corgi with very long legs. So she's half Corgi, half Blue Heeler, 100% sass. So I'm just finishing up the eyes right here. Give her some eyebrows. Sweet. And now we just have to finish this little diamond that she has on her head. It's really cute. It's a little white diamond that she has right up here. Little fur marks. Boom, there we go. So what we're going to want to do with this sketch is using the paint bucket tool right here, or hitting K on the keyboard. We'll then be able to just take any area and fill it in. Now up here where it says fill color is where we could choose what color to go with. So right here we have a lot of different swatches we can get, where we can work with. Or you can go over here and hit the color picker, where you can have even more color options to work with. She's a beautiful shade of brown, white, and black with a little bit of tan on her, so I think this is going to work well for her. Sweet. And I'm just going to grab that area. Let's go ahead and click right there. Looking good so far. Now she does have more of a white snout right here, so she's white there. Got the white diamond, got the eyes. And I've hit I on the keyboard. That would get my eyedropper tool. And whenever I click another color, it will grab that color. So that way I can use it elsewhere. I want to use more of a darker brown with her eyes though. And I'm going to repeat that color for her nose. Excellent. I think she's looking really cute so far. So now that I have her head, I'm going to hit V on the keyboard, select everything right here. As you can see, everything is selected. And I'm going to hit F8 on the keyboard. And what this does is that this will turn her head into a new symbol to work with. I'm going to hit head. Oh. Now this is like grouping it together, but you can do a lot more with it. You'll see in a little bit what I'm talking about. But besides just moving it around, if I ever want to, I can just double click, go in, and I can make whatever edits I want. And up here, you're able to see scene 1 and then head. So I just click scene 1 and I will return to here. Neat thing about that is by turning it into a symbol, if you go over here to library, you'll see all the pieces that you have imported. So, or imported like the sketch that I did of her, but it will also contain all of your symbols. So I got head, so if I wanted to, I could just click, drag it, and I can make a Cerberus version of Esper if I wanted to. And if I were to double click and make any changes to it, so let's say I take this white fur of hers and I want to make it, I don't know, green, you'll see that it's happening for every single symbol everywhere. So this way, if you have any repeating symbols that you have to use, and if you need to make a slight change to it somewhere down the road, it's super easy and very convenient to be able to change that. So I hit escape to get out of there, and I'm just going to hit select the ones I don't need and hit delete. Move that out of the way. Next up, I'm going to be working on her little kerchief. So grab the brush again, make sure I'm at 400%. Working with black ink here. Sweet. Let's go ahead and make that cute little kerchief of hers. So, as you may remember in the talk that I had about Captain Brad, or not Captain Brad, Captain Redbeard, you want to make sure that all of the parts of your character are going to be there even if you turn off another layer like this. The reason for that is this will allow me to be able to take this head and play with it, rotate it, and scale it, and animate it, and make sure that there's still something underneath it. So, with this selected, if you take your cursor anywhere on the side, with the free transform tool selected, you can rotate it as such. Now, notice where everything is rotating it from. This little circle right here. This is our rotation point. So if I were to click that and drag it right over here, notice now I'm able to rotate that head on top of that kerchief. I'm going to move it right over here because I think that will work better. So if I rotate it pretty far up like this, we're still able to see that kerchief underneath it. But if I rotate it a little too high, we're going to see where the breaking point is. I'm still going to keep it around that length, though. I think that will work just fine. Score. Let's move that over here. Now for Esper, she does wear a bandana most of the time, and it is red. Boom. There we go. And just like before, we're going to grab that, hit F8 on the keyboard, and we're going to call this Bandana. See if it has another graphic for us to work with. Move that out of the way. Now, one of the things you're going to notice too is that now this is currently above the Esper head when we need it to be lower. So if you right click, you can go over here to where it says arrange, and here we can actually move them all around. So we can say send backward. Boom. That's all we have to do. Now I'm going to go ahead and make the dress. And since she loves to play fetch, I gave her a tennis ball purse to work with. So I hit B on the keyboard, get to the brush, make sure I'm working with black. I'm at 400%, rock on. So let's go ahead and make her dress. Nope, not too thrilled with that line right here. I'm actually going to start right over here. Excellent. So she does have these cute little hibiscus flowers. just going to draw them in here real quick. And I'm thinking purple would be a good color to work with for this, for her dress. Purple with white hibiscus flowers. Now this is a little too close right over here. I feel like it's bumping up more than I'd like, so I can use the select tool, grab that, and I can hold shift, grab this, just shift it over a little bit, so that way it's not going to be up there. Excellent. Now, I mentioned earlier I want to color it in with purple. I thought it was more magenta here, so sweet. And I'm thinking cute little yellow for the middle. Great, it's coming together so far. And just like everything from before, we grab that. You'll see that it's selected by all these little dots here. Hit F8 on the keyboard, and we're going to call this dress. Now, the Captain Redbeard that I showed you earlier had multiple different parts to his body, where he had a torso, a pelvis, kind of a midriff area, and that allowed me to be able to rotate it left and right and get a wide range of animation from him. So I'm keeping Esper here just a little bit more on the simplistic side, just by having a torso for everything that's going to be encompassing the pelvis, the abs, shoulders, pretty much everything I need for it. I'm going to move that over here. Oh, and we also need to bring that back just a little bit, so we can go to range, send backward, range, send backward again. Or actually, if you need to, you can just hit arrange, and you can actually just do send it back, and that will send to the furthest lower level of it. I'm just going to run that right back here. We'll just keep all these pieces off here to the side. Don't we need them? Okay. And so next up, I'm thinking it would be nice to draw her legs. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to keep up in here. So I'm going to move down to the legs in just a minute. Now for this, we're going to be having three different parts of the for the arm, or two parts of the arms. We're going to have the upper arm and the lower arm. We're not really going to be having a unique hand for this animation. What I mean by that is we got her upper arm, a few little marks for her hair, and I'm not liking how that rotation point is going to work. So if you remember to what I mentioned in previous part, I can, anytime you want to get a good rotation, you would make a circle, select the middle, get rid of that. I'm going to change it to a color that I'm not going to be using. Oh, one part. There we go. All right, so we're going to be working with a red little circle. I'm going to grab that, so that way it's not going to be part of my drawing. I'm just going to use it as circle guide. Excellent. So going back to the arm that I want to be making. Oops, sorry, I hit the wrong button there. On a different layer. I'm going to go ahead and start drawing. So I want to have an arm that will be able to do a good rotation. So I think that would work just fine. Now one thing about graphics and symbols is that they will be on top of any drawing that is not a graphic or symbol. So if I were to right-click this, for instance, go to arrange, send to back, it won't go all the way back. It won't go on, it won't go behind this, is what I meant to say. So I have her arm. I'm going to go ahead, hit F8, and just create upper arm near. Now, because that arm is closest to us instead of far away, that's why I'm going with near instead of just right arm. So as you can see here, I can still go in and make some edits to it if I want to. But let's go ahead and make her lower arm. Now for her lower arm, we're going to want to follow that circle guide that I created earlier. I'm going to draw her cute little paws. Move that out of the way, make sure we grab everything here. Sweet. Hit F8. I'm going to do lower, oh, I cannot spell today. Lower arm near. Return. Great. So now, to show you that rotation I was talking about, we can see that we're going to have a little bit of rotation around here. Ta-da! So it's not too much, but it's enough that we're able to kind of get a little bit of a neat little animation feel to it. I want to go ahead and draw in just a few bits of fur right here. Oh. And what I want to do now is to fill this in. Now, if I were to try using the paint bucket tool here, nothing's happening, because if I'm just clicking, not getting anything. The reason for that is because we have this giant open area here. The only reason paint bucket tool would work is if we have a complete solid area. So a neat little trick to get around this is if we go to color right here, we can go to alpha, drop that down all the way to 0. May look like I drew something. We can see that there's a line there, but if I click off of it, nothing. Let's go ahead and delete that. So I can use that to my advantage here. Actually, right here, I'm going to do paint behind. Go back to alpha, bring that up to 100. Oh, looks like I lost the color that I was going to use. So let's go ahead and grab it one more time. Hit K, and there we go. And I'm going to do the same for the rest of her foot. And make sure we fill this area in with white. So we have this, right click, arrange, send backward. Now we have her arm to work with. Move those out of the way. So I'm just going to quickly go through the other ones right here, do her tail. Whoop. I'm not happy with how that one's turning out. I'll just write 2 lines instead. Use the eraser tool, just get rid of that little area for cleanliness. Move that out of the way. Now I'm going to go over the concept of containment lines and line weight more on Thursday. But a general rule of thumb is that if you are working with varied line weight, you want to have thicker lines on the outside with thinner lines on the inside. Those are called containment lines, and they just feel more natural and work better. Kind of contains everything a little bit better for the thing you're drawing, thus the name containment lines. Okay, so let's go ahead, grab brown to put right here, white, and fill that area in. Sweet. Oh, another thing too is, let's say you think you have a complete circle, something you could fill in. Well, of course I did it right the first time here. Let's say you have a tiny little arrow like that. You're just not able to fill it in. Down here, under the layer section, if you take this colored block, just click that, everything that has a stroke will turn into an outline mode. So we're able to see this tail that we created, and we're able to see that it's a good solid line this entire way. But if you're having any trouble figuring out where this little gap is, this is a really helpful way to figure out where it is and complete it. So therefore, you can go ahead and fill it in. So now I have her tail. Just like everything else, hit F8, piece it together, tail. Alright, everything's coming together so far. Now to save time, I may choose to not give her the purse, we'll see. Because we still have the far arm to do, as well as the legs, so let's go ahead and I just realized that I was on the wrong side. Wrong size. At 500 instead of 400. There we go. It's looking much better now. Have a little pause in here. Want those to be black. A few little dots for her fur. Probably not even going to see a lot of those with the animation, but we'll see. Eyedropper, grab our color, fill that in. Eyedropper, grab our color, fill it in. Looking good so far. Hit F8, and we're going to do far arm. Now, the reason why I didn't break it up like this is because it's going to be covered up a lot by the dress. We do arrange, send backward. So just for simplicity's sake, I can just move the rotation point over here, and we're not going to see too much of an animation going on. Because her arm's going to pop out, come back in. If you wanted to, you can have time to be able to still do, a double jointed arm, or not a double joint. You could do like a double part arm, like the near arm, but I think it's going to work just fine the way it is. All right, so we're working on this leg for Esper. Drop the alpha down by 100% right here. Got a little line across the way. Oh, and I'm accidentally putting that area in. We just want to do paint behind. We have our invisible line. Go back up to 100. There we go. That's looking right. So I'm going to select it all. Yeah, we can see that little line right down here. What are you, my friend? I'm going to just hit delete. Great. That's looking much cleaner. So we're going to do upper leg. And you'll notice that I did not do upper leg near. You'll see why in a minute. So I'm going to go back to black, 400. Make her little foot, or not her foot, her lower leg. Grab the brown, grab the white. There we go, we got a little leg going on. Move her leg out of the way, have that area selected here. F8, lower leg. Boom. And finally, we're going to do her foot. Go back to 400, go back to our brush, and let's finish this off. And make sure to get her toes. And I'm going to choose white. Alpha 1 at 0. Make my little circle. Or not my circle, but fake little line. Oh. Apparently something happened. Oh, I filled in this area with the alpha at 0. So, it was a fill with nothing in there. Go ahead and just change that to white. There we go. Hit F8. Foot. So we have all the pieces starting to come together. And let's do the back of her bandana as well. Gotta get back to 400 here. Just have her little ripples in her clothes there, little folds. And it was red, so we can fill that in. I'm gonna go ahead and delete this, because we don't need it at the moment. Hit F8, bandana back. Alright, there we go guys. So far we have a lot of different parts of Esper we're going to be working with. And you know what, I will go ahead and make that little tennis ball purse, even if I don't use it. I think it'll be cute. So I'm just going to go ahead fill this in. Just going to have little lines right here. And since felt, just have a few marks just to kind of indicate the texture. Sweet. I want it to be, oh, that is not the green I was going for. Let's go for more of a light tennis ball green. I'm going to have that selected, Go back here and try to be able to find the right tennis ball green. I think this one will work. Score. And white. Use white on the side right here. And just some gray for the zipper. Grab that, hit F8, do purse. And yeah, I think we got everything right here. So let's see how it would all look together. Bring your foot right over here, your foot by over here, and you can also use the arrow keys on your keyboard to nudge everything around. I'm going to go ahead and hit Arrange, bring forward, bring the dress over, put that back. It's kind of like taking a barred puzzle and just putting it right back together. Arrange, bring forward again. Sweet. Grab her arms, come over here, and you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and right click, do Arrange, bring to front, Arrange, bring to back. So I'm just going to get everything kind of pieced together where it needs to go. Make sure that nothing's going to be out of order. Right click, Arrange, bring to front. Bring her leg right over there. And right click, Arrange, bring to front. Now earlier, I mentioned that I didn't need to draw a second leg, because with this selected, I can hit the Alt key on the keyboard, and if I drag and click here, as you can see, I just made a duplicate of her leg. I'm going to go ahead and right click, Arrange, and send all the way to back. I'm going to nudge it up just a little bit too. And there is my cute little puppy. I'm going to go ahead and hit File, do Save. Shame on me for not doing that earlier. And I'm just going to do Esper Workshop. Hit Save. Excellent. I think she's looking really good. So, final thing we're going to want to do is I'm just going to grab everything here. I'm going to go ahead and hit Command X. That will cut everything out. You can also do Edit, Cut. Now what I'm going to do now is do Insert, New Symbol, and we're going to choose Movie Clip this time. Hit OK. Hey guys, sorry about that. Unfortunately, Adobe Animate 2018 crashed on me, but I decided to take this opportunity to reload the file in Adobe Animate 2020 instead. There's going to be no real difference in function with it. It's just going to be updated graphics, updated icons, and that's going to be pretty much it. I figured that since a lot of you at home are probably going to be working with Adobe Animate 2020, since that is the latest version, I figured I would just go ahead and continue working in that app instead. Alright, getting back to the character rig, so we have Esper here with each one of her different parts as its own symbol. Now what we're going to do is that we are going to be setting up each one of the body parts to react to another. The best way to kind of describe this is take your hand in real life. Go ahead, take a moment. Just lift up your hand, and if you were to rotate your hand around its wrist, you're going to notice that your elbow and your shoulder will not be moving or rotating along with the wrist. But if you were to rotate your elbow, your wrist will follow along with it. And then if you were to rotate your shoulder, your elbow and your wrist will be moving along with your shoulder. So we're going to be doing the same thing to all the parts here with Esper. So if we were to move her body, for instance, her tail is going to come along. If we were to move her hand, the arm here may not be moved at all. But if we were to move the arm, then the hand would come along with it. So the way we're going to do that is that we're going to create a new symbol to do all this in. We're going to go up here to Insert, click New Symbol, and then we're going to choose a movie clip to work in. And what we're going to do in there is that we're going to create a new layer right over here where it says New Layer, and just drag and drop each one of the symbols into it and just rebuild Esper all over again. Now, to save time, I actually went ahead and redid that. So as you can see here, the head layer, bandana layer, so each one of these symbols is now on its own layer. So the technique that we're going to use to be able to get everything connected to each other is going to be called parenting, where you're going to have a base layer, or a parent layer in this case, and then if another layer is going to be connected to it, then it's going to be considered a child layer. So what we're going to do is we're going to make our dress right here, the torso, the parent layer, where everything else is going to be connected to that. That's going to be our hub layer, if you will, or our parent layer. So how do we get everything connected over here? You're going to notice that there's this icon right here, and if you were to hover your cursor over it, it will say Show Parenting View. And all that's happening is that you're seeing this just more space opening up inside of our timeline window. Now, if we were to go to head, for instance, we want our head to move along with the body, so we're going to have that be dress. And as you can see, the two layers are now connected. The bandana is also connected to the dress layer, so we're going to click that. And all I'm doing here is just clicking, and it will give us all these different options. So upper arm is going to be connected to the dress, but here the lower arm near, this is going to be connected to the upper arm. And then the purse, we want that to be connected to the lower arm near. So right now we're starting to be able to see how all these different layers are going to be connected to each other. So let's see what happens now if I were to move the dress layer. As you can see, all of those are coming along with it. But if I were to move the arm, or the upper arm, just by itself, check that out. It doesn't move the rest of the body with it. I can move the tennis ball purse on its own, but if I were to move this arm here, it takes the purse with it. So let's go ahead and continue that for the other ones that we have here. Now another thing you could do too is that you can actually click and drag from one layer to another, and that will also connect them. So I'm just getting all these different parts connected together. The upper leg's going to be connected to the dress. The foot is going to be connected to the lower leg far, and then this is going to be connected to the upper leg. So yeah, we got a really cool looking map happening here. Now I want the bandana back right here. This part right here to be connected to the dress, or not to the dress, to the bandana instead of the dress. But instead of having to click and drag and scroll it all up there and find the bandana layer, I can just click here, choose bandana, make my life a little easier. The tail is going to be connected to the dress, and the arm far is also going to be connected to the dress. So there we go. We can move the dress to kind of just double check and make sure everything else is following along with it, and sure enough, it is. Now the next thing we want to do is that we want to set up our rotation points. Because right now, let's say if I were to move the head on that rotation point, that's not where it's going to be happening at all. So that doesn't look correct. So moving this rotation point just down like this we see that now the head is going to be rotating where it should. So we're going to do this for everything that requires a rotation point. So right here, the far arm, we want that rotation point to be right where the shoulder is. So that way she can move her hand out and we're able to see her far paw. Now here, I actually already did the upper arm, but we want the lower arm to be right where the elbow is going to be. And then we want this purse here, we want that to be right where her paw is going to be. For the tail, we're going to move this to where we think it's going to be as well. Now the neat thing about this one is that, as you can see here, the rotation point does not need to be in the selection box. You could actually move it out. You have her wagging her tail right over there. She may have that disapproving corgi look, but you know, she's so happy in the end. Great. I want the bandana to be rotating where it connects to the rest of the bandana. I'm going to be, actually I think both of these upper legs are going to be fine, but we want the lower leg to be a little higher up. Alright, so this way if we were to move the legs around, they'll take the lower leg and the feet along as well. Great, so right now we have Esper connected to all the other body parts of herself here. Let's go ahead and just do a very simple animation with her. I'm just going to be having her tail wag and her head just kind of bopping up and down, just kind of swinging her arms around a little left to right. So I'm going to take this opportunity to introduce you guys to the timeline layer. Now right here you're going to notice that you have a lot of blocks and a lot of different numbers right here. Each one of these numbers is going to correspond to a frame of animation. And this number right here is going to indicate how many frames will be used in a single second. So this means that 24 frames, this number right here, from this point to right here, will indicate 1 second of animation. Now, instead of having to redraw each and every single frame, what I'm going to be doing is just telling Adobe Animate where I would like these body parts to be for each frame. And it will actually animate all the in-betweens for me. So let's go ahead and see that with the tail. So the tail is in a good resting position right here. Now this right here is called a keyframe. Anytime that you have a frame that has a dot in it, that is a keyframe. That is going to indicate that there's going to be a change in direction for the animation happening there. So let's find our tail. Actually, what we're going to do here is I'm going to go over to frame number 5, scroll all the way up, hold the Shift key, click here, and you can see that I have this entire column selected. I'm going to right-click, choose Insert Keyframe. And you're going to notice that between frames number 1 and 5, it filled in the all the extra information for us. So for this tail right over here, we want to rotate that. So I'm going to find the keyframe that is going to correspond to, and just rotate that down a little bit. So I have right here, I'm going to create a new keyframe. Do the tail here. Rotate it a little bit up. And I want this to kind of loop. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab arm far, scroll all the way up, and I'm going to copy these frames, go over here to frame number 15, select them all, select the entire column like I did before, and I'm going to do paste frames instead. So right now, This is, so right now the frame 1 and frame 15 are going to be the same. This will allow us to have a fun little loop going on. Now let's say we want to play it here. We just hit play. And nothing much. We're able to see that the tail is just going up, then down, then back to normal. We click this to loop. Oh, and actually, if you have loop selected here, you're actually able to choose the area that you want to loop by taking this blue bar, and you can just scroll it left or right and choose the section you'd like to loop. This would be really helpful if there's a section of the animation that you just want to get looking perfect, and instead of having to loop through seconds of animation, you can have it just be, you know, a small little section just like this. So this is our tail wagging. It's nothing too special right here, but you're able to see the motion happening. Let's say we want to clean that up and make it look a lot smoother. By clicking and dragging and selecting all of my frames here, I can just right-click, do Create Classic Tween, and you'll notice that each one of these is turned into purple. Let's check it out. And you're able to see here that the tail is going to be just moving up and down like that. Pretty cool, right? So, actually, I don't think we need to have this one right here, or at least we're just going to take our loop and have that be one frame earlier. And so it's still kind of slowing down up here just a little bit. So I can grab that. You can actually kind of compress the animation as well. Let's check that out. So you can still just kind of click and drag a lot of these keyframes and just kind of get the animation that you would like it to be. So I'm going to hit Control-Z quite a few times to go back. And I'm going to be animating more than just the tail this time around. Okay, so we got the tail here. I'm going to move the head up just a little bit. We're going to have her swing her arm this way, out just a bit. Cool. Let's have her tap her toe too. Now let's create a third keyframe. Insert keyframe. Move that one down. And yeah, we're just simply playing around with this puppet that we created and just having some fun with her. And you get to have her dance, you get to have her move and walk around. Let's create one more here. Move her head back down that way. Actually, I think she'll be fine in that position right here. Alright, so let's go ahead and check her out. If we hit play, we're able to see that she's able to do her little foot tap, wagging her tail, moving her arms and her head around. But just like before, where I didn't have the motion tween in play, it's coming across as a little bit choppy. So what I can do here is, if I were to click and drag and grab every one of these frames. I want to, by the way, over here, even though I have it selected only in half of it, as long as it's in the frame itself, it will still count. So I right-click, and at the very top, I hit Create Classic Tween. And that will turn all of these blocks into a good classic tween here. And there we go. We're starting to be able to get our animation happening. Now, just kind of complete it, I'm just going to grab the first Keyframes here. Hit copy frames. And simply just paste, or paste and overwrite frames. So what I did right there is that I just set it up, and so that way we have the first frames here on frame number 1, frame number 15 are going to be the exact same. So that way we're going to have a much better loop out of it once we start having some fun with it. And just by hitting play, we're able to see Esper just kind of moving about. Alright, now that we have a very simple animation for Esper, we can drag and drop this symbol into the main scene and move and manipulate it even further in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to hop back into our main scene by hitting this left arrow right up here at the top. Now, over here, in order for this to work, we need to convert this into a graphic symbol. So as you see over here, we have what looks like a triangle, a square, and a circle. That represents a graphic symbol. But if you have a box with a gear inside, that's going to represent a movie clip symbol. Very easy to get it changed over. We just have to right-click it, hit Properties, and where it says Type, we can then drop down that menu, choose Graphic, and it will change. Pretty easy. Now we can just drag and drop Esper into the scene here. Actually, it's not working because I need to create a new layer first. And there she is. I'm going to go over here. I'm just going to create a new frame. And we're able to see that she is now animated inside of the scene. So you might be asking yourself, like, why not just animate everything inside of the main scene itself here? And the reason for that is sometimes you may need an animation that, you want to be repeated. So just because we have Esper in here once doesn't mean that we can't throw her in here a second time. So I'm going to create a new layer, drag and drop her right over here. So now I have 2 dogs. And you can see the animation is just going to be repeating itself even though we have 2 of them. We could even take it here. I'm just going to move that rotation point right down here. I can even shrink her. I'm going to hold the Alt key and drag her over as well. And now it looks like we have a party of Espers doing that little animation from earlier. So this way you can do one single animation and reuse it multiple times in a scene if you need to for whatever reason. Now you can even do some other cool stuff with it too. I'm just going to go ahead and hide these layers right here, where I'm going to be placing Esper in the scene over here on the left. Let's get that rotation point right down here again. And over where it says 45, I'm going to create a new keyframe. And the new keyframe, I'm going to drag and drop her over here to the right. I'm going to grab all the frames in that layer. I'm going to right click and hit Create Classic Tween. And now you can see you can have a character moving and doing their animation at the same time. So let's say if you wanted to create a walk cycle, you would simply have the person walking in place as you animate it. You would then place it into your scene, and then you would have them animated this way. So I can even turn on these other layers. I'm actually going to bring that layer back here. So we can see that we have 3 Espers doing their little dance, and we have 1 Esper just kind of moving around behind them. So there's a lot of really fun stuff you can do with this, because you can change the scale of them during the middle of the transition. You can have them rotate, flip around. There's lots of really cool things you can do just by animating in a symbol first and then dropping it into the scene. So this is something that a lot of different studios in Atlanta would do. We have Cartoon Network and Adult Swim, and they started using these All right, guys. Well, that about wraps it up for today. I had a lot of fun doing this workshop, and I hope that you guys had a lot of fun following along. So, to recap, we went over essentially what character rigging is, how to set up your character for it, how to build the character, how to actually do the rigging process itself, and then animate it, bring it into a scene, and then bring multiple other animations of the same one into the same scene. So, yeah, as I said earlier, this is a really, really fun animation technique, and I hope that you guys, get a chance to explore it at home. So, I hope you also tune in for a couple of the other workshops that I'll be doing later on this week. Wednesday, day 3, I will be doing a workshop focusing on comics and storyboarding that will be focused more on visual narrative being told through composition. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, I hope that you get a chance to check that one out as well. On Thursday, I will be going over character design and ink work and better line work with your animations and with your comics. And then on Friday, I'm going to be going over how to digitally letter comics, how to export out your comics as well as your animations, and how to get them shared online and do some cool stuff with that, and how to just share them with your friends. So yeah, I hope I get a chance to work with you again later on this week. Um, just please keep drawing, have some fun. This is one of my favorite things on the planet to do, and I hope that you guys start to develop that passion as well. All right, well, that about covers it, and I will hopefully catch you guys tomorrow.